ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Hi, how are you? Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. It is February 18th, 2028, and today we're learning to draw. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Hello. Well, I guess those who are new and old. Those who aren't new, welcome back. There you go, that's how you're gonna do it. For those who are new, I'm here to learn to draw. We're not dropping any masterpieces. We're putting lines and boxes in today, doing some of the grind, and the idea is that for decades now I've wanted to learn to draw, but I've never actually put the time in. So we're trying to put the time in. We've had some ups, we've had some downs, mostly ups. Downs just come from my own mental fatigue, if you will. That camera is slowly just zooming down, ain't it? We are going to move the table up a bit. Yeah, it feels better. So, welcome and hello. I think the big message generally is I'm here for me, here to put in the time. But you know, if you want to be here part of the journey with me, you're welcome to be. We're gonna start today again with some warm-ups. These will probably be something that changes over time as I grow and develop. Pin control exercises, action lines, cylinders. Some of these we do, some of these we don't. This is mostly a list for my own. Well, it's a list for me to remember. Some of these we do on stream, some we can't. Some we need to add to this now that I'm looking at it. The daily homework changes about every week. Our art plan is a mix match of different classes. Primarily, I'm sitting on a lot of Mark Burnett's stuff, and that's been it's been helpful to have a singular plan to follow. But we're also doing some Drawbox and new Masters Academy stuff. I'd say on this side, but we're not getting enough of our primary class for the last week or so down. We haven't put in the good work, if you will. So that's kind of the theme of today. Is I'm hoping to put in the work. Let's just have a day where I feel good about the grind. Boxes in hands sound like a great way to invest some of that. Or maybe after 2 hours we're done and we'll see tomorrow. We'll find out. So, the one pen control exercise we keep going back to. I do it at 150% zoom. We're gonna do actually straight vertical today. I've been having this thought lately that I need to go to the right layer. Just go and hit delete on that layer and then come to here. Okay, so a lot of things I draw keep turning out, you know, a little bit slanted rather than vertical. I gotta work that out of my system. Even the whole Luffy piece I was working on yesterday, which I don't think we're gonna cycle back to. I would almost rather do 5 or 6 more sketches than sit down and paint them right now. I think that's more valuable. 5 more sketches like his. But anyway, there's a slant to everything I do, and including that photo, that I wonder about. Like, how did I draw? I drew a line, a box, and immediately it was crooked, and I didn't recognize it. Wow, we do have some pen control problems on the vertical, don't we? Now, regardless of my slanted view of the world, hope you're having a nice day yourself. Get some good drawing in. We have some mild changes to the content coming up. Those changes being I want to play some Monster Hunter when it launches. So we may do a little bit of fusion of content. I guess there's options, right? So game's coming out. I've got all the time in the world to play it. I'd like to play it a little bit the week of launch during the day. Thought about, what if I just drew the monsters or the environment, played a little bit, drew a little bit. That could be fun. Or at least it could be a way of, a method of still doing the art while doing the gaming on the side. I have admired people who do draw like their playthroughs of Pokemon and with Nuzlocke rules, right? They'll draw their team out. People like Jaden's Animations who really draw out their journey. That's always seemed really cool. Really liked that idea. Oop. Especially with one of my long-term art goals is to do comic stuff. Learning to tell that story has also always been an interesting bit for me. I'm gonna try slowing down. Okay, let's hit the delete key and rotate that vertically. So we have a nice slant. Let's try to unslant it. A couple days ago I would have told you that it was the calibration of my pen, because I hadn't done it correctly. And what might have been happening is, as I was watching my line go, I would notice it was in the wrong place compared to the pen, or instinctively, and I'd try to correct, and all my lines would turn out pretty rough. But now that I've theoretically fixed that, this is about as calibrated as you can get for me. Oof. Now it's just pen control. Now it's just me not drawing straight lines. Everything is a little slanted. Even there. Make it red. You can't draw a crooked red line. It's impossible. I'm just gonna start trying to push it to the other direction. Who knows how many hours I would have to do that to slowly correct to the left. But these are almost more intuitive lines here than specific. Verticals, since I'm going with such speed. If I wanted to slow down, can I turn the tablet a bit? Does that help me? I will figure it out. Cool. Moving on. Let's do these. I don't want to speed through this exercise a bit, but it's not like I spend more than 10 minutes on it. Don't want to speed too much. I want to try to get something out of it. It's also safe for work. It's the idea that as I draw more challenging things, I seem to have a limit for how much I can do before I start beating myself up about it. Probably the challenge of doing it live doesn't particularly help that confidence. But also it's what gets me drawing in the first place. I have no misgivings. We gotta stop this we would have stopped this channel ages ago. Maybe not even started it. If I would not have, if I would have been able to keep myself on a drawing schedule. Which we may try again in the future. I imagine this isn't a forever thing. I've told myself we're going back to school in the fall. We still have some military benefits we haven't taken advantage of. And heading off to university for a couple years to learn art. Sounds wonderful. Especially on the government's dime. Okay, let's move down. All right, let's move on. All right, gesture. Let's prep a series of images. Let's give ourselves 60 seconds. I guess we'll do blue. Probably more like that. I gotta start. I think we did this one yesterday. Yeah, we did. It's the leg that comes back. There's a knee here, and then the leg goes backwards. And then the arm and the shoulder, and we're out of time. Actually, that's not the line as I see it. All right, next bit. So I'm kind of big. Maybe I should give myself more room to do that. Gestural lines here. We shouldn't be doing these like segmented pieces everywhere. There's a chain here that's being pulled and wrapped from a wall. Not the important piece of the project though. All right, let's see if we can capture this one. There's a very dynamic pose. It's a very mostly dynamic pose. Looking down. Shoulders are here. Line of action, very short torso. Like we're looking at the top of the torso. It's still about that size. Pelvis, shoulders. Arms are just kind of going straight down to pick up an object. Nope, ran out of time. Gotta be quicker. Okay, better. We do have a thicker leg, not a thicker leg, but one leg goes over the other, and I've gotten the entirety of the angle wrong because it's this back leg that comes down, then it crosses over at the ankle. Okay, next. interesting line of action in that the shoulders here and here, we've actually got the back where we see most of our work. And I say most, now I can't really see the line. Let's do it quicker. Now we've got some great proportion issues. Maybe even a head shape that, you know, comes over here. But, moving on. Whatever. We're not here for the head. Line of action, very shallow. We've got a lot of foreshortening happening. Let's do torso, which is what, like up here? Okay, moving on from that one. Hey there, Zeffy. Welcome, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Probably some length issues here. But we also not conveying the angle of the excuse me, the angle of the back very well. So both of those hands end up being visible like this. Okay. I'm sorry, I really don't answer the "where are you from" question like that. Middle of the U.S. I guess I do answer it very vaguely. Not a normal first question when you first show up. It's actually more of a we're spending way too much time on some of the details. Oh, definitely not professional. Definitely a beginner. Welcome from the UK then. Need to like a knee back here, but there's this knee. Probably spending too long on that. We're not capturing that line. So we're not really doing a great job of capturing the gesture of any of this. We should do more CNS curves It sounded a lot more like a pitch and spam than a viewer. Zeffy. I've seen this one many times. I think it will be the last one here. See, I've seen good gesture. And it always feels like the like I can see the pose. I can see it. And when I do mine, of course, there's a couple where I can kind of see it. And if we look back, which ones as I was drawing was I happy with? Like, I think when I start doing like these lines here, and we find the, you know, easy to express curves, you know, I feel like I'm going better. The rest of them end up feeling like stick figures. Let's try one using minimal lines. Let's try to get that sense of motion on the next one. About 10 seconds it will swap, but we can just start clicking until we find something. There we go. I'm gonna pause here. So we start off with a good circle. We can even frame that head a bit. Or, you know, give it the outline, the lines to show us the center and the eyes. Or at least the eyes are more... I think if I start making that connection where you bring the eyes down, we'll go a long way. All right, so real quick, the pose. Something like... I'm gonna draw it here and express it better somehow. It's doing things. How about that? All right, so let's count heads. We should do like that. Is it that kind of curve? It's about there. We've got the easy part, which is usually bringing a line around. Now I feel like we're too big. Probably too much on that curve. That's the left foot thigh closest to us. But then from the back of the foot, or the back thigh, the leg, the opposite leg, actually comes across and down and ends up doing that from this position. So we've got this thigh that's in front. And this leg that comes out. Now we're capturing motion. So let's keep the motion in mind. Simple, simplistic curves. Now we've got a torso that follows right up to the head. Shoulder. Comes down to a hand. What would that line be if we weren't just doing a contour? Okay, I see something there too. Of course, this head ends up being like down here. Alright, can we simplify that any? Let's like add a layer. Let's take the old layer. Go to red. Let's think about how I would draw the gesture a little better. So we would say, give ourselves the angle of the head. Can I do like an egg shape right off the bat? That looks like an alien. Okay. The leg, I guess the line of action, sweeping. Can we exaggerate? Do we just bring it down in one swoop? Maybe an S-curve. Alright, let's try one swoop. I mean, it's not an arm. This never looks like an arm when we're doing this here, but... Okay, we'll spend enough time on that. Alright. Oh. That's tough. Alright, let's try to do more. Let's do another one. Let's take up the whole paper. Let's start with the blue. We'll do a sketch. Just trying to do an actual, just to the person. Let's just do the whole person. Alright, so let's start with some of the things we've learned, right? We do a line, we do a line. We box in our picture. Okay, we have a center line. We we start measuring the model to find a center line. Oh, I guess center line doesn't matter. Horizontal center line. We're making some guesses, and we're checking them. About there. Okay. So right here, there's and what we're gonna call our center line. There's like a neck. Neck stretches over. We get a head. Actually stretches like up, and there's a chin and a head. But that's pretty big. I think how we've just drawn it. So it's probably a bit smaller. Let's go ahead and start getting the rest of the lines in. And we'll see where we end up. Rib cage is kind of over on this side. Which we see then like the shape do this. Oh, did we draw a good? That's a good half line. So we've got the arm that comes down. This whole rib cage kind of goes up and in and over. There's a hand stretching. All right. Probably place the shoulder right in here. Down the left, right under the head is where we have the other arm that comes up and over and props the head up. We've got this massive out of proportion neck. Let's try to play with that. We're actually like way up here with the eyes. I realize we've gone off the pencil and onto the pen, which is fine. It was getting a little hard to see marks. It's not that big. But it does come over to like here. Let's go back to the pencil. Here we've got a stretch and a crunch. Its arm's kind of going away from us. It is a bit foreshortened, but I think we've got some bad angles. And of course we were splitting this in half. We didn't even box ourselves in well. Which is to say, proportions are a problem. So let's go back a bit. Let's think about that again. Let's do our line. Halfway point is about here. Right? Okay. And then the halfway point there is about here. And halfway point here is about there. We've theoretically broken this into thirds. We've got what is kind of the neck coming out of here. Let's just get rid of that whole page so I'm not being influenced. If we break that portion again in half, we get the that crunch of the thigh, of the torso, right about there. Kind of goes up that way and then over and out this way. So neck, thigh, not thigh, ribs. This is the bottom of the rib cage, which does come up and over. It all makes a line like back this way. What else is on line? Let's see. Horizontal drop point is actually, if that's the line, we're going center. If that's where I'm going center. It is more like that, just closer. All right, let's do big shapes. So head. How's the head line up? Side of the head lines up at that angle. If I draw a line here, and I forgot the guidelines of the person. Don't really get anything. It doesn't extend out that way, in that direction. We just get like, we know the head rests between these lines, but doesn't touch the one on the left. How big up to the center? So if we're gonna find the center point, where's the head lie? Almost at the center of the center point. So that's about right. Horizontally, the hand is about the halfway point on the head. It goes a little above it. All right, so we've got this hand here. We've got the rear just outside the hand. So somewhere in this line, this extends. Kind of a angle. We have the rest of the picture fits within there. We've got the foot. That's a heel. It does not, it almost operates at this angle. Let's draw the whole of the foot right now. And maybe start looking for other guidelines. So what's halfway between the pinch and the collarbone? It's the bottom of the left breast, which we'll have to limit our detail on. I'm not fully sure how much, but if we give it a vague outline. Then the angle from the crunch upwards collides with hard to say, actually. Not the no areas I can see. So let's do the arm and the shoulder. So the shoulder is on this line, extends to about halfway across the face. The bicep extends twice the width of the, I guess, the whole arm from the armpit to the elbow. It's about 2 heads. It's more like right here. I have like a foot, it goes outside the foot, so we're there. We get about halfway again between here, between the midpoint and the bottom of the left breast, where we take this line. We can kind of box that out. And then it's straight, I won't say it's straight to the middle, but we definitely overrepresent, like the wrist is on this, closer to the right side of the palm. All right, major shapes. Just put down some lines as we see them. You actually see the bottom of the ear comes all the way down to the shoulder, which tells me the negative space here isn't enough. So we can kind of bring in the head, bring in the shoulder. The palm actually slides up a bit. This neck's stretched, and this is a stretch of the torso. We've got like this center line here to work with, kind of. The crunch, but about halfway between the crunch and the bottom. somewhere on that line. The where the knees meet. Yeah, kind of. So they're like somewhere over here the two knees are. They meet like similarly. I say somewhere over there, but we got to bring them into the left. The space to bring them into the left. Let's count, I guess, heads. Let's get a measurement of the length from the center of our picture, our center line, which is right here, to, let's say, the biggest part of the hip. Butt. And see if that corresponds. More or less corresponds that same distance here to here. So like the knee. Which actually it makes a lot of sense. I think I'm happy with that. Now is it the edge of the knee? It is the edge of the knee. And not on that line where we just put it. So let's do some deleting and look at it again. So from there to there, there to there, that's about halfway. We get this knee, and we're kind of estimating the size. Let's go to the pencil again. But we've got to make guesses. And that should also be the bottom of the photo, and from that knee it does come down a bit. Make some connections here. Look at the negative space. We'll come back for the detail on that one. But this thigh and this leg thigh mostly horizontal. Comes into there, and then we just get a lot of pinching. Okay, slowly piecing it together. We get a line on the right, this right side of the torso, and it's the rest of the torso that goes all the way up. As far as sizing goes, we can eyeball it. At biggest, it extends no farther than like the knee here. It starts just in. Now we do have the line here. Now that, if we continue that line in, it's a little wrong. It's a lot of bit wrong. It's actually more that. We get, belly button in here. And we get a torso that comes out just from there in. I guess it didn't have to be this far. I need to do the vertical placement, because the farthest point on the torso is actually lined up with the left breast. And it is just inside the knee. And it's not a breast, so it's not that rounded. It's the rib cage even. It's gonna feel more natural because there's no way this comes out like this, right? Let's just say almost vertical. We get about a little over halfway. We get the elbow. We do have a shoulder and a bicep. We can try to highlight a little. Oh, the left breast does barely extend on the outside of the torso. We clean these lines up. And what it doesn't do in this, from this angle, is extend to the shoulder line. It does kind of curve in, and that's not even the right shape. And we got a shading and light problem here for placement. Do a rough. Whole thing kind of comes out here. We get a slight extension, and then the rest of the torso is right here. Pinching that happens here. We're just trying to clean up good lines now, and I guess slowly make this feel like a person. There's a rib cage. That's actually like up here. Trying to see the landmarks. You can see that pinch is actually the rib cage there. Now these are guidelines, they're not intended to be permanent parts of the picture. We clean it up. What do we get? Something more. I kind of see it now. Like we're seeing the image come together. Maybe we can focus on the thighs and the legs a bit. I think one of the things we're also missing is this chin. That's prominent in the picture, the underside of the chin. Now there's no line there. Like we're not cartooning it, so how do we represent it without? Not quite what we're going for. we'll keep it simplified for now. We probably need to put the landmarks of the face down before I start mapping it out like that. Alright, focus down here. So we have this line that doesn't make a lot of sense until you look and see that it's kind of the foot's a little twisted. Definitely they meet and one doesn't necessarily overlap the other, and we probably have more of a defined. I see a muscle here. That's the calf. Not the calf. I see the calf here. And then from there, it's mostly a straight line. I'm sure if we keep adding lines on top of lines, we'll find the line, but that's not the point. And then just past this, you see a little bit of the footwork. Let's clean up some of the lines. The calf is a bit bigger than it should be, like a whole bunch bigger. I think we're trying to meet the bottom line here. Keep doing it in pen. And we're stuck somewhere between drawing what we're seeing and drawing what we're feeling. So let's look at it like this is a cylinder that runs backwards. It goes back a bit. Like there's a knee. Is that a problem? It's kind of like without values, we have an issue expressing the shape of this object. A leg. And that's part of it. It's probably this heel that we did. You see that heel? That's like a symbol of a heel, but it's not the actual heel shape. It looks like the fucking T-bone from the Luffy picture earlier. What actually happens with this photo is it comes down, the leg comes down, it's on the ground, and then it starts to veer up. We get something like this. That leaves us with a very thick leg, and probably because this line here needs to be fixed. see the whole thing needing to come down. Like this right here. Okay. Yep. Opening that up a bit helps the visualization for me. Helps the picture. Now this area here, yeah, there's no, these are 2 feet on top of each other, they're not 2 feet. There is a little bit of negative space. I mean, this hand's easier because there are no fingers. Do you think we round them out? Nice dark line here. And then there's a bunch of hair, which we've not put into the photo, or into the piece. How are the hands doing? We've been doing hand studies. I bet we can handle a hand. So just a thumb. Palm. We're seeing mostly palm. Barely, I mean, you can barely see fingers in this photo. Hand? It's this thing where we need to draw it like, it's like here. We're seeing mostly wrist and palm. So anything we draw has to kind of come from that perspective. So like palm, how do we express palm? There's a thumb. It ain't as big as the head, which is clearly what I'm almost drawing here. And then you see just like barely the nubs of the hand. Because again, it's like this at the camera. We're looking up and around at it. We even see like a nice horizontal for the thumb. Now we're not getting any of this. just want to draw. I'm trying to draw swiftly and quickly, and it's not going to help us. Let's try just the hand over here. Palm is so much bigger in the photo. Like, it does come up to halfway point on the thumb, wherever we decide that landmark is, but it's not like a butt. Then we only get like a finger that comes out to like here. We get a visibly longer finger. It's kind of out here, and then shorter but on a slightly different angle finger that's at about there. I'm assuming, I mean, if I squint, that's a hand. And you can kind of see that where things were supposed to go. Hello, hand. Do you mind if we take you and slap you down? It's not as big as her head. Head. Oh. Okay, I think we're happy. We've gotten a general shape here. Took us a bit, but we put something down. We have behind it. We have a layer. We do have layers here, and this is on the gesture drawing bit. We're going. Oh yeah, we had a bit of a sketch before that was crazy. Oh, well, thank you. We wanted to take our time on something and try to line up pieces. But I'm looking back and forth. I can see places to make adjustments. We started trying to add a face at some point before we started adding the lines. Went back and added the lines. The hands are a thing. But I think that's like that's where we stop this. There's nothing to finish yet. I guess I could, pull out the pen and ink and start trying to find shades, and of course the more detail you put on something like this, the less I can stream it. Unless we start inventing clothing. Just like, aha, that there's a... Wait, that's pencil? What happened to my... Oh, we're on the opacity. We're on the layer that's opaque. Which we'd want like here. So we'll like start putting in shorts. Top of some sort. to be able to continue the drawing, and I have to do something tight. But I think what I'd rather be able to do right now is do this a bunch rather than work out the details. Yeah, I'd rather be able to slap that down quicker and easier. Pop out hands. Ooh, hands. But I'm distracting myself. How's our coffee? Right. We're not attached to any particular bit. We delete. There we go. That is one thing I was considering, that as we are sitting digital, like I'm not building a digital sketchbook. And I wonder, is that a thing? Actually, now can Clip Studio do that? Clip Studio add pages? Like if I were to add pages, save something in .clip as a sketchbook, could I do a whole thing and say next page? Do a whole thing and say next page? Because that's a brilliant idea. If I could come back to a page or to a whole book. Right click on page in the story file, not a page that way. Let's find out. Let's create a new, let's call this sketchbook. It's not a tune or a comic, but if it was a book. This is a widescreen width and height. This is smaller. Yeah, this is about right. Oh, maybe it's got to be an actual comic file. Well, we want it to be color. I don't care about the size. Like this is going to be a .4K size file. So what was 4K again? $38.40. Is that doing it in pixels? By 2160. We're learning things here. Okay. So that doesn't work. Let's look at some more Google search results. You cannot make a multi-page document in Pro. Only EX can do that. You'd have to make separate files. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, A6 with 600 DPI. We're going to hit that button. We're going to look at it. Now it might actually just be the EX version of Clip Studio. Which I do believe I remember being a feature. Let's go look at the differences real quick. So I guess I wouldn't care for the guidelines, but what do I know about comic sizes? This is all trying to keep it within print margins, right? Like, these are very important features for people who need them. Let's see. there's a page. I'm just on the Clip Studio Pro page. There's like the difference between EX and Pro. Compare them. There we go. Let's see. Multi-page projects. It's like one of the 3 features you're missing. So, multi-page projects is EX version, full-length animation tools is EX version, and convert images and 3D models into lines and dot shading, EX. That's fair. Totally fair. Which again, something we could be manually saving. It would just, what we're not doing is, if I was doing all this work on a sketchbook, we'd be able to look back after some time and be like, oh hey, look at this thing we did. It was nice. It was fun. Look how far we've come. Maybe we'll think of a plan. I mean, we've got the videos, and that's a bit, that's cool. But also, you know, I'm not filling out a sketchbook, and I might have actually put a dent in the sketchbook. Anyway, I'm gonna use the bathroom. Gonna get another drink, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we talked about what the grind is today, and the grind today would be kind of what we just did. Putting down figures, things that we're mildly uncomfortable with, over and over. Now, let's keep a record of the work for now. We'll delete that sketch layer, and what I wouldn't mind doing is filling up this page. Like, hey, there's one, let's do another. Yeah, definitely starting to feel it when you're like, you know, you're mentally, you've done, you put some thought into it. Emotionally, you're beating yourself up, and then you stop, and then you don't get any additional work done. But this is the perfect exercise. I need to repeat. Let's see if I can. I'm trying to find a normal-ish pose that I can work with. That one feels easy, which is a shot of the back. Here, we'll do the quick sketch. So we get a circle. The eyes are over here, looking down. got line of action. That's very visible because it's the back. Pull out the... We're going to put a lot of lines down. I want to pull out the pelvis and the torso. So let's start with the shoulders. How about that? A line here goes across. We get more shoulder this way. Pelvis comes out and it's a little in on this side. It extends past the head. We get, you can almost see, the pelvic bone actually creates almost a hard curve on the model right there. We get this, comes down and in. This would be almost a stretch. We got a bunch of cloth at the bottom. Gonna obscure a bit of the photo. Glute. We've got the back of the rib cage coming in at like these angles. Shoulder muscle, the arm. It's kind of squished in. Comes down to about here. See, it is squished into there, and we'll represent that with a slightly darker line. I mean, they're on top of each other, pressed into each other. Probably the better way to say it. We've got a wrist that's kind of out here. Some hands. Yeah, hands. Alright. Enough of that. We've got that crunch that comes in. Lines up. We got the shoulder that comes out. But it does line up kind of like this. The arm itself is tucked in front of the torso. And the shoulders and the neck all kind of actually come up into the face, covering the face. Getting rid of what we can see. Like the ear, for example. Right here. The eye is barely visible. That way with the brow. And then a lot of the hair, if you will. It actually is just pulled up, so maybe I could get the appearance of hair kind of running that way. just kind of bund on the top of the head. Okay, that's enough work there. What are we missing? What feels wrong? I mean a bit, but like the arm feels off. There's more like width here and here. There's, you know, elbow work. There's a very small bicep. But there is also a little bit more negative space and a curve here in that segment. Let's get rid of some of these lines on the inside. Try to put some shading in where shading darker patches exist, but this is not a very photo is not deep. It's actually about halfway here, and there's a little bit of shadow in that area. The whole face is shaded, if you will. Can we lightly like take the pencil and put a tone on it? I mean, the lighting is interesting in that it's definitely coming from the... Where's the lighting coming from? Because there's a light spot here and here. And then the dark spaces, so I guess, you know, in here there's a light space. Barely a light space there. And the rest is varying degrees of shaded. You have a nose we've kind of ignored. Bare resemblance of a mouth. I guess it's definitely not. Here, let's try the tilted pencil. So if we do just a light shade on the whole thing, can I start adding... How does this look if we just start coloring in with light pencil shadings? I'm gonna experiment a bit. Alright, so now the darker portions, the darkest values, end up being what, like... Here, like outlining the shoulder blades. This is the darkest value I can get. This whole area is in shadow. And I think probably by throwing this down, we're not getting a lot out of it, but we're experimenting. Talk about as dark as you can get. Probably need to use the pen like that for the darkest portions. Like up here. And we got this light or slightly darker area up in on the right side. Let's see if we can't follow any of the actual shading of the light sources. Just trying to get good representation. We've got a good dark shadow along the spine. Flares out just a bit here to the shape of the gluteus maximus. Gotta get less weird about saying butt. I just run an eraser there because there's a nice highlight. Right up the spine. Let's go ahead and block off that shape. It's a little darker there. Back to the face. The face is in a lot of shadow. Like so much shadow we probably tilt the pen in. Do this hashing. And then the hair especially has its own highlight pattern we can try to follow. Mostly in the back left, but there's segments near the peak. Alright, let's see if we can't find more shadows that stick out and tell a story. So there's actually highlight just barely on the inside of the arm. Try to get rid of all these guidelines we kind of put in. Alright, we have a dark shadow that follows the neck.
does disappear. And then it's on the chin. Blends those two in a bit. Where else? Where else? General shadows on this side of the body. We got some shadows on the crease or the ribs. There's the most highlight. Let's try to hit the highlights. If I give this a general pass, and then we take the eraser. And we erase the lightest parts. Things pop. Okay. Next photo. Oh, I am gonna have to look up good tools for a digital sketchbook later. See if there's a solution people have come to. I'm cycling through the poses for something easier. I do want to see something more natural as well. There's a lot of art poses that seem to be there to challenge an artist. You know, very helpful for a lot of things I'm doing, but it never, some of these aren't poses I'm ever going to see myself drawing. Maybe pieces of the poses. That's Michelangelo there. I know that pose. Yeah, there's some curves there we can work with. Alright. So, quick sketch. Easy, fast stuff, right? Don't stick to anything. We've actually just got the front of the torso doing that. Heads a little more, it extends right about there. Torso is here, there. Hips again are out to the left this time.
rib cage, shoulders. One shoulder is directly under the head, the other is out here. Let's see, the neck muscle. It's a turned head. Alright, we start putting some landmarks down, we might see it better. Right there, yeah, I mean that feels right. And of course back. Maybe a bit stretched out. Let's see. Yeah, that extends out a bit on the left and the right. We've got belly button as a landmark. And the arm extends out to about here, and in to here. In which case we get a thumb and a set of splayed fingers coming kind of at the camera. This arm comes back. It hides behind the body. Which is, you know, hey, we don't have to draw, but also we don't get a chance to draw it. Alright. Let's figure out the legs. So there's a chair. She's sitting on the edge of the chair. Hey, Astrid, with the water check. I got you. Sparkling orange mango flavor. Water beverage. There's water in the title. Thank you. And hello, I hope you're having yourself a fantastic Tuesday. I mean, this already just looks good. It looks like a person, which is why we're doing what we're doing. But with the legs come a bit of a challenge. So this one leg does extend out past the head by about twice the width, so maybe about where it's at. Then it comes back at an angle, vertically lining up with the head, and it's going backwards, so there's some foreshortening here. There we go. Line. The other leg comes off the hip, comes out at an angle, just missing, just like colliding with the knee, or its, you know, own knee. And back out. The big thigh we decided we were going to draw there. Forward distance, we're estimating still. We're exaggerating features we see, which is causing proportion problems. we're also trying to draw what we see. Like a calf muscle there and a slight flare of the shin here, right? We get an ankle. We get a heel. Under the ankle. Cool. We'll call that something. Probably needs to be a bit smaller. I don't think it's as big as a head. But it's not far off. It's not far off. Alright, so let's work the leg in front. We keep going to the G pen. I don't like it for the sketching. Now we probably show this behind. See a calf again, but it's shortened. Shorter than the calf we just drew. Now getting the three-dimensionality of this shape, bit of a challenge for me. I gotta remember where we put our guidelines will help us a little bit. Right, so the groin is here. And that lines up better with the G-pen. Lines up better with the actual anatomy of a person. Now, did we big faux pas on the size, on the proportions? The legs are a bit bigger than they need to be. Like if we were to take this, how do I do just one? Oh, so much better already. Cool, cool, cool. Alright, so we don't really have, though, is the feeling of foreshortening here, and I'm not at I'm at kind of a loss. Like, alright, we kind of knew to place a line there to show the crunch. You know, the size is about correct. But maybe the size isn't correct, and that's why none of it works. Take a moment to get rid of some guidelines. Clean up our sketch. Which, you know, we could use layers and we could hide, but we're using a lot of it. We've enveloped some of this foot. Now we've got to use the right lines for it. But, I mean, realistically, I'm putting down some of my best people today. It's always a nice feeling.
course, this arm is going backwards as well. If I think about cylinders, do I find a better route here? I see one issue here. She does have a... Yeah, I don't know, this arm is very wonky. I think it's here? Or you need like a better shoulder, like a... Make the hand the right size. Does that start to do it? Maybe get the angles correct, because this angle's actually out this way. So whatever we were drawing there was just made up in our head. Alright, so ending again at about there. Comes up and over. From bigger to smaller, from bigger to smaller. Like, is that how we get our illusion? Consider the perspective of what would be a cylinder. I've heard before. I was trying to put into practice. We've drawn a few of them, right? If we say that, you know, that's the top of the arm we see, we would bring it down and it would be here. And then we would see most of the travel was here in this arm. And we actually need to end it here. Honestly, the arm suddenly looking like a cylinder, and drawing the cylinder feels so much better. And then we do the hand, what we just did. So let's, I don't know, envelope it, box it out. They're a little foreshortened. But, legitimately, giving that some lines to turn that into a cylinder really help with the outline. Guess, you know, we leave those shapes in. It still shows the motion. Let's finish out the breast properly. Definitely, like, I gotta get comfortable with the lines here. Try not to be too weird about it. And then by trying not to be weird about it, I think I'm being weird about it. I gotta get over it. Alright, we also should slim this up. So we can do with the mouth, just some basic mouth face stuff happening. There's a hairline, wispiness here. Everything's kind of pulled back. It's very curly. Like, curly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I want to get the idea. Nose is terribly out of place, and I know as soon as I put eyes down or brows down, the whole thing starts to go to hell. So for now, let's just keep the idea of a face. Of course, we're doing the G-pen thing again. And of course we're doing, I don't know how I got to the G pen there again. I thought we had specifically gone to the pencil. The forehead back in. I think we just turned the whole face from being sideways to almost being sideways. But next, so another pose. Okay. I think we have one. The head is about that angle. The eyes being, wherever they're at in there. There's a bunch of hair covering, but I want to say it's about, really don't know how to draw a head still. Alright. Line of action is wild. Let's start with simpler things. I guess there's almost nothing simpler than a line of action, but if we start with the back of the neck, it's like here. And we run it to the back of the bottom of the spine and the back. And we get this sweeping motion. Probably somewhere in there. If we look at the rib cage, that might be an easier tell for me. It's very, very prominent. That comes out to here, and the arm just kind of comes out of the head. Elbow right here.
wrist a little ways down. We're gonna use these as our guidelines, if you will. And like fingers pressed and kind of splayed out. Now this line of the chest, the rib cage, almost vertical. And comes back up. Sharp turn down. So we get this like torso, we get pelvis, which would be I could probably, there's a line there, almost horizontal, or off the rib cage. What else am I seeing? We do see the shoulder. It is vertically here, or horizontally there. This shoulder comes just from the neck, almost vertical the whole way down, so more like here. I think we're getting wild in the proportions. Let's keep moving. Let's see where we end up. So we get the elbow about here. So the arm itself, another one of those backwards, cylinders. Now I'm seeing it. Now I'm seeing where we're misplacing some things. I placed the shoulder outside the rib cage, but it's above the rib cage. It's outside the breast is the problem, not the rib cage. So it's like there. The top of the pelvis bone. With negative space here. Now the arm just kind of rests along the butt. And then this thigh. This leg. Let's continue to put some markers down. Now, I think what we've done is we've slowly gotten bigger as we've put down the figure, and that's not the case in the actual photo. So let's divide her in half. Let's find out where half feels like. Half is about mid-thigh. So half is about here. When we take this line and whatever the other half of the leg's gonna be. Now one of the things we have also seen by doing this is that this arm is just back a bit. So it's like behind the head, right, which we've graciously outlined inside this first block. So between the thigh and the middle of the thigh and the head, we give ourselves another rough middle. Does it line up? So right there, that's about the left side
of the breast. Okay, yep, that's fine. So at least this landmark here and this landmark here are in the right place. So size between that and that, roughly there. So if I want to put the rest of the figure here. Oh, vertically. Let's do vertical. So that's the line between whatever that is and here. Halfway on the art piece. It's just below the hip, maybe belly button? Belly button's here. Let's find out. It's about right. It's actually about right. It's not the belly button though. It's like right there. Okay. So knowing what we know now, replacing the hand, smoothing out some curves. It does. The belly button's almost in the right place. I want to say. Right here. What else is wildly or mildly out of proportion? So there's more space and a slightly different angle for the rib cage here. Again, very prominent in the photo. This rib cage, this portion, very prominent. I'm using that as a guideline. Which does line up better with where the breasts currently are. Again, not the pen, we went to the pencil. But this other one, off. Any alignments, like it does line up here. It touches the rib cage, or the visibly covers just where the sternum is. And then kind of teardrop into the shoulder and the side of the body. Definitely looking at it from an angle that we're not representing well. Some shading that helps. It's actually just like right there. Shading comes down here. I'm gonna need a little bit of an eraser. Carve out what's there. You can do the shape, but then the highlights aren't the way, it's not actually outlined in that way. Cool. Alright, let's see. Stuck a lot on the rib cage because in this piece it's right there. Very prominent. Word prominent we're overusing. Prominent. I'm just lining up what we see there. Clavicle. Hard to tell kind of what's going on there, but we think that's about where the shoulder is. Let's get our elbow right, or arm right. Okay, I think that's sketching in nicely. Let's work on this crunch here. Bring this line down and think about the leg for a minute. We went a little small on the foot. I do think the foot's a lot more prominent than that, like bigger. If we give it the space here. Again, that's one of those like symbols for the knee, but it's not necessarily what I'm seeing. What about the other leg? It does come out from here. Yeah, we did it again, by the way. The whole thing is mildly, like, 3 degrees tilted. Hey, bro, good day. Hello there, Minium. Hello, and welcome. Good day to you, too. Throwing down some figure sketches today. Is it's a going process. Legs in the front. Smaller. So I think one of the things we've definitely done, we keep doing legs at a slightly awkward size. Cleaning that up, bringing that in a bit helped. Let's see, let's come back to this one. The hand is more or less same angle. I'm holding the pencil a little too tilted, losing some kind of envelope this. The hand just kind of comes down. Better wrist shape. And a couple of these definitely run into the eye here. So there we go. The impression that we drew a hand. Kind of the same thing here. There's only like 2 fingers being shown. She's pressing her fingers almost down. Like that's a very harsh press. What do we have? Some more like light and shadow here that bring out some of the depth. If I were to add shade to the leg here, do light and shadow, kind of a little bit of shadow where we see it. See if anything pops out a little better. Not doing a very thorough job of it, just sketching out some really dark spots with some really light shading. Almost looks like we're adding scales at this point. The head, not quite big enough, and the neck's a little big, frankly. When we look through the shadow, I can kind of see that. We got some shading up here on the bicep. The light seems to be coming from the right side. So then like the left side of this limb, the underside of the foot. Highlights exist. Then some spaces for sure. So like we can shade here and here. And then take the eraser and really just bring out the highlighted sections. Just especially right there, like in the thigh. Yeah, there we go. Okay. We even get rid of some of these guidelines. And we got a lot of them. In some places we'll leave them. Some places they bring out some of the motion. This is a very highlighted spot. So is the thumb here. Oh, palm. There's actually a palm visible now that I'm really looking at it. Let's see. Yeah, it's interesting. This part had the least amount of like scratch work on it, so it felt off. But like adding these lines to it, I guess it's giving it a sense that it's on the ground. We add the shading to these things, especially if we came back with ink and really found the lines. It's like second sketch. Really, we're just experimenting at this point. We could move on to the next
next one. There we go. Alright, let's take out the easy guidelines. Well, at least do that before we, move it over with the rest. Okay. Collection of works. Good, the bad, and the ugly. I think we need to do more like this. Like, feels like good practice. At least taking it to this stage. But I think what do we want to do? Yeah, I think we take our lunch, we call it an episode, and we come back and we do classwork afterwards. And again, I can't do classwork live, so we're going to call it. We'll come back. I've got some perspective stuff to continue to work on, so that's what I'm gonna probably do, although I continue to fail to do it. I eat lunch and then I veg out for the day. So fingers crossed we get some work done. So that being said, thank you so much for hanging out. We'll be back here tomorrow. We do this 5 days a week. And again, hey, hello and welcome. If you're new, thanks for hanging out. If you're, I guess generally what we do is we're learning to draw. We're putting the pressure on and making myself sit down and at least for a couple hours a day, do a little bit of art. We've been seeing some improvement. We've been seeing some growth, and we've been seeing, that we need to focus a little more sometimes. So that being said, see you tomorrow. You have a good one too.